Hocus Pocus by Pegasus Rescue Brigade. Chapter 17. The later half of October was an eventful time for the students of Celestia's Academy. With final exams approaching in early November, most of the fall's classes accelerated even further. For Dinky, at least, it was a blessing. She was so busy that she had little time to worry about Scorpio as the constellation neared its apex directly overhead. Princess Luna was surprised by the news of Sunbeam's latest intrusion. Unwilling to risk the safety of Dinky or any pony else, she agreed to check in on Dinky's dreams at regular intervals, whether one appeared to be in progress or not. Despite the extra caution, Dinky could tell, especially as the end of the month drew close, that the darkened part of her was growing more active. The filly suffered from sudden, short-lived headaches and bouts of dizziness. Often, it felt like the inside of her horn was one big itch needing to be scratched. Casting spells helped marginally, but Dinky knew the only way to achieve real relief was to use dark magic, which she stoically refused. Fortunately, the symptoms seemed to be more annoying than dangerous. Although it took conscious effort, Dinky was still able to avoid actually using dark magic. As if that wasn't taking enough of a toll on the filly, Troubles' illness led her to many more failed attempts at healing him. Each day she spent some time with the fox before trying to use the healing spell. But despite her best efforts, she was repeatedly thwarted by Troubles' unwillingness to trust her. Honeydew offered tips passed along from Professor Chestnut, but nothing helped. Finally, though, a welcome distraction appeared in the midst of all the stress, in the form of the Nightmare Night Dance. On the evening of the event, Dinky and her friends finished their homework early and retired to their dorm to prepare. Dresses from Carousel Boutique. Nice job, Rarity. No problem. So, Clarity, Dinky asked as she ran a brush through her mane. Did your sister ever tell you about this dance? Clarity chuckled as she affixed her beret to her mane. It's just a big party to unwind and celebrate Nightmare Night before we have to deal with exams, she replied. There'll be food, music, and plenty of Nightmare Night surprises. I hope it's nothing too scary, Honeydew lamented, nervously rubbing the knots on her horn. My hometown doesn't celebrate Nightmare Night. I don't know what to expect. Nightmare Night's not scary, Honeydew. Dinky laughed, patting her worried friend. Unless you're scared of obviously fake vampires, werewolves, and stuff. Honeydew giggled. I guess that doesn't sound too bad. Clarity tried to place impatiently. Well, come on. Are you ready? She asked the others. It's starting soon, and we still have to fight Scuffle. I'm ready, Dinky responded. Come on, let's go. This is our big night. We're feeling ready, and we do it all right. You were waiting for that gag, weren't you? Trixie, you know I do. The fillies scrambled down from the stairs and bolted for the tower door, practically tripping over each other in their hurry. Hey! Be careful, you three! Dinky stopped abruptly at the commanding voice. Clarity and Honeydew crashed into her, causing the three fillies to fall in a heap. See, said Sparkler, you three are going to hurt yourselves one of these days, I swear! Dinky took one look at Sparkler, and was too surprised to bother pull herself about from beneath her friends. The overseer was robed in a simple but elegant midnight blue dress, and her mane was intricately done up. What's with the outfit? Dinky asked. I thought this was an informal dance. Sparkler opened her mouth to reply, but Clarity cut her off. The one we're going to is informal, she explained, but the fifth-term students have their pre-graduation dance tonight. While the other students party, the eldest ponies have a formal dinner and dance as a way to say goodbye to Celestia's Academy. Fastest by Canterlot Carousel was Sassy Sal's making. Yes, Sparkler deadpan. Now please get out of the way so I can go. The fillies got up and trotted outside. Clarity and Honeydew made their way towards the cult's tower. Holly Scuffle would be waiting outside. Go ahead and find Scuffle, Dinky called. I'll meet you at the dance. The purple filly fell back as her friends went on ahead. After a moment, she turned back to Sparkler, who was staring at her curiosity. What? The overseer asked finally. Dinky shrugged. I guess it's not really my place to say anything, she began. But, if I can make a suggestion. If whatever you're about to say has something to do with Presto, I don't want to hear it, Sparkler growled, scraping a hoof on the stone in agitation. Dinky worked her tongue nervously and said nothing. Sparkler rolled her eyes. I can take care of myself, Dinky. I don't need a fool telling me what to do. She turned away and began to trot down the path. Have fun at your dance, she said, her voice not conveying any real well wishes. Dinky sighed as Sparkler trudged away, and then quickly made her way to the castle. Dinky didn't have recognized the room she was in the dining hall, as she had made her way there herself. Who had ever organized the Nightmare Night dance had gone all out, covering the room with a degree of decorations, both traditional and magical, that it looked more like a manifestation of an entire book of scary stories than a castle chamber. Dinky quickly located Clarity, Honeydew, and Scuffle in the crowd. Wow, cheese sandwich! Nice job! Of course. You gotta love the party howitzer! Whoa, this is even more awesome than Lucid said it would be, Clarity exclaimed, lighting her horn to see better in the dim, foggy atmosphere magically generated for the room. Good evening, came a female voice. Welcome to the celebration. There was a sudden puff of colored smoke, and a pony dressed as a hideous witch appeared. Physically, the mare didn't seem to be any pony the foals knew, but Ducky recognized the voice immediately. Professor Mustard? Is that you? Ha ha! Good guess, the mare chuckled. The devil, isn't it? That costume is a lot more realistic than the ones I've seen back home, Clarity observed. How did you make it so lifelike? Oh, just a few losers here and now, and a judgment or two. Mustard laughed. Your professors and I are providing such costumes for students who want them. Interested? Dinky opened her mouth to answer, but never got the chance. She and Clarity were both side to side, as Scuffle wedged himself in between them, forced his way to the front of the group. Sounds awesome! Me first! The professor chuckled. Yeah, Scuffle, you'll all get a turn. Now, hold still. Roar! The mutilated, decaying zombie unicorn groaned, which looked like a ghoul for some reason. Lady just giggled, vampire fangs showing as she did so. Sorry, Scuffle. I know that's just you. Scuffle pouted. I'm still terrifying, though, right? Honeydew looked her friends over. We're all pretty terrifying now, to be honest. Dinky laughed at the comment, looking at the costumes herself. Scuffle's zombie pony outfit was wonderfully convincing, right down to the chunks of rotting vest that occasionally fell from his frame, before flashing in a flash of sparkles a few moments later. Honeydew's vampire costume had turned her already pale pink fur almost white, and a few clever enchantments equipped her with fangs, and a substance that looked quite like blood that occasionally ran down in tiny rivulets from the corners of her mouth. Stereotypical monsters. Ha! Clarity laughed. My costume's way cooler. Dinky looked at Clarity again, and had to admit, she had a point. The front half of Clarity's body looked exactly the same as always, but through some combination of illusions and enchantments Dinky couldn't comprehend, the back half appeared to have been transformed into an iridescent, scaly tail taped with a double fin. If sea ponies were real, Dinky was sure that Clarity would be indistinguishable from them. In choosing between the four, though, Dinky's costume was perhaps the most striking of all. She wandered to a mirror again to examine it. Her eyes glowed bright green from covering half sticks and leaves that formed together into a living body. Her shape, however, was still roughly pony, instead of canine. So, you're a timber werewolf instead of a regular timber wolf? Honeydew asked, wandering over to a mirror where, delightfully, no reflection appeared at all. That's creative. Okay, so I'll do a reading of a hairier problem later. Come on, you two, Clarity called. Even monsters have to eat. Let's get some food. Dinky ambled along after Clarity, listening to the clicking of her faux wooden paws on the floor. Scuffle had already helped himself to the generous buffet, and was eyeing up the treasure trove of Nightmare Night candy on the table next over. "Hurry and eat up," Clarity instructed as Dinky arrived at her side. "The dancing's starting in just a few minutes. The professors are already getting everything set up." As if on cue, the upbeat music began to play nearby. "Meet me over there," the gray filly called as she ran off. Dinky nodded and helped herself to a heaping portion of food. Then, feeling especially glad to finally have a night away from stress, she trotted out to join her friends by the dance floor. From Dinky's perspective, time passed quickly that evening. The ponies dressed as all manner of Nightmare Night creatures, partying on the dance floor well until after dark. Dinky's thoughts then turned to her dark magical troubles, even once all night long. It was nearly midnight when Professor Morningstar appeared on the stage and called the colts and fillies to attention. "Happy Nightmare Night, every pony!" the stallion called. "I hope you all been enjoying the festivities, but it's starting to get pretty late. We've got one more treat for you all, and it should be starting shortly. In the meantime, I need you to organize yourselves by gender. Colts on the right side of the room, fillies on the left." Scuffle glanced at Dinky and the other fillies. "I guess I'll catch up with you three a little later," he said, trying out to join the colts. Dinky hauled together with the other fillies to wait for the event the professor had mentioned. "What do you think's going to happen?" Honeydew asked, glancing around nervously, wiping the bit of fake blood from her lip. "Why did they split up the colts and fillies?" "I don't know," Clarity shrugged. "Maybe they're going to—" Clarity was interrupted by a huge crash as the stained glass window appeared shattered violently, and a huge, slavering beast leapt into the room. The monster, built with the body of a lion, the tail of a scorpion, and a pair of bat-like wings, released a deafening roar, causing most of the ponies to fly in a panic. "A manticore!" Dinky gasped. "How did it get into the academy grounds?" "Who knows? Who cares? Let's get out of here!" Clarity replied, trying to shake off Honeydew, who had instinctively clung to her. Before any pony could flee the room, however, the manticore began to laugh. It wasn't a deep laugh either. Instead, it was high-pitched and raspy. "Boy, I really scared the lot of you," it announced. Slowly, the shards of shattered glass rose into the air, drawing closer into one another as they made their way back into the empty window frame. At the same time, a ring of green fire appeared around the manticore on stage. Within a few moments, the window had fully repaired and replaced itself. The fire had faded, replacing the vicious monster with a familiar, quirky changeling. "Happy Nightmare Night, every ponies!" Nestor called, receiving a chorus of relieved laughter and tears as a response. "Now that we've all had a good scare, it's time for something a little different tone. Oh, and we're not going to need costumes for this one." From somewhere, a familiar magic-canceling wave, like the one Dinky often used, burst forth and radiated over the crowd, quickly dissolving every costume and leaving a room full of normal ponies. "Now, even though none of you are graduating," Nestor continued, flitting his wings, "after next week, it's going to be a while before some of you see each other again. The Nightmare Night dance is about having fun, of course, but it's also about spending some quality time with your classmates. So, we're going to play a few more songs that are less about dancing, and more about being able to take that time to renew those bonds." "So, they're slow dances?" some colt called, sounding a combination of annoyed and nervous. "Yes," Nestor deadpan, punctuating his answer with a loud chirp. "But I know what you're thinking. Just because you ask somebody to dance doesn't mean you're gaga for them. Show some backbone and ask somebody to dance with you." The song began to play, but Nestor didn't leave the stage. "Getting this started is always an awkward, so I've heard. But luckily for you, one lucky colt in Villy will be chosen at random to come up here on stage and get us all started. Who's it going to be? A spotlight on the side of the room suddenly flashed on, pointing a specific point below. Dinky couldn't see over the heads of the older students, but a bunch of cheers and laughs rose up from the cult side of the room. And we have our cult. Now, let's find our lucky filly. Okay, take good bets, Sam. Take good bets here. Who's betting it? Who's betting it's Honeydew and Scuffle? Anybody? Oh, me. Oh, I'll go pick. Me. Flurry Heart, you're too young to take any bets. Another spotlight flashed on. Dinky squinted. For a moment, that might point directly at her, but soon it realized it landed on the pony directly behind her instead.
Oh gosh, no.
Heidi squeaked as the bright light poured over her body.
No, I don't want to.
Come on, Honeydew, Clarity urged, pushing the filly forward.
It's just a dance. Every pony else will be dancing in a minute, too.
Shaking, Honeydew slowly made her way through the crowd. She glanced back at her friends for a moment, looking frightened, began to climb to the steps on the stage. Dinky glanced to the stairs on the opposite side, and her jaw dropped as he spotted a familiar brown and tan pony ascending to the other side. Scuffle and Honeydew reached the stage at the same moment. Their gazes met, and for a moment, both ponies froze in place. Next to Dinky, Clarity covered her muzzle with both forepaws, desperately trying not to burst out laughing. Somebody better pick up that phone, because I called it! Desert glanced between the two foals, neither of whom had moved since spotting each other.
Go on, you two.
He coaxed.
Step stage, please.
Dinky and Clarity pushed their way through the crowd toward the base of the stage. As Scuffle and Honeydew began to move almost robotically towards one another. They reached the middle just as the fillies arrived beneath them. Scuffle mumbled. You alright, Honeydew? Honeydew shivered.
No!
She squeaked.
I can't do this to you. Not from all these ponies. You give it this way,
Dinky called.
If you had to dance with a pony you've never met before, wouldn't that be even scarier?
Yeah, you can trust me, Scuffle affirmed.
Every pony else will be dancing as you two start,
Dinky Clarity reminded her.
The longer you wait, the more awkward it's going to be having the room watching you.
Honeydew closed her eyes shut. Scuffle, who was clearly equally as nervous, but marginally better at hiding it, nodded. So, ready? He asked. Honeydew took a step forward, shaking. She raised the forehoof and placed it on the colt's shoulder. Scuffle responded by placing one of his own hoofs on her upper back. Looking terrified, but determined to do what they had been asked, the two began to step in unison to the slow music. Fortunately, it took the other ponies only a few moments to follow suit. I've got some romance tunes playing in my head. Dinky and Clarity retreated back into the crowd as ponies teamed up to dance. Each of them found a random colt to join them for a dance or two. They met up with each other again to watch Scuffle and Honeydew on stage.
What are the odds the two of them ended up singing a dance?
Well, according to the betting pool, 1 to a billion. Dinky asked, smiling.
Andrew didn't seem too thrilled at first, but she's starting to look more comfortable now that she's been up there for a while.
Forget Honeydew, Clarity snorted. Look at Scuffle. Dinky glanced at Scuffle, but didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, other than that he appeared mildly uncomfortable.
What about him?
Don't you see it? Clarity asked.
Look more closely. The way he's moving, the way he's holding her, even just the way he's looking at her. Does that seem to Scuffle, you know?
Dinky looked again. Clarity had him point. Scuffle was not a fantastic dancer, but his movements, usually so exaggerated, were very controlled, almost graceful. He moved slowly and carefully, obviously trying to conform to Honeydew's movements. And he kept his eyes on meeting her gaze whenever she overcame her nerves enough to look directly at him.
Alright, I see what you mean, Seaman. But so what? It just means Scuffle's capable of focusing on performing with finesse when he wants to.
I know he can, but why would he? Clarity asked.
Scuffle doesn't like to drop his tough pony image for almost anything. But there he is, in front of all of his peers, behaving like a perfect gentle coach. I can think of only one reason he'd do something like that.
Dinky looked at Clarity obliviously. The great filly groaned. I think he likes her, you don't!
She laughed. I've been wondering about for a while now, and with this evidence, it seems like now more than ever. Him, her, up there, alone. I can see what's happening. What? And they don't have a clue. They're out there and fall in love, and here's the bottom line. They're in love with you too. Oh, the sweet caress of twilight.
Sorry, I really love this song.
Dinky blinked. She almost killed him already this term. Hey, I'm just seeing what I'm seeing right now, Clarity said defensively. Dinky looked at the ponies on stage again. I too didn't seem to notice the change in Scuffle's demeanor. Probably for the best now. I too didn't need something else to stress about tonight. You mean you're right? See you in a minute. Come on, let's let them do their thing until the dance ends. Clarity nodded and followed Dinky to another part of the hall, casting one last glance and a grin at the ponies on stage as they trotted away.
Oh, that moment when your preferred ship gets together.
Oh, it's a beautiful moment.
By the time Dinky and her friends reached the residence towers, it was the middle of the night. Scuffle joined the others in front of the entrance to the Phillies tower.
That was awesome, Clarity giggled. I'm exhausted. You should probably get some sleep. Oh, Dinky pointed out, yawning. After all, we have to spend the weekend getting ready for final exams.
Scuffle nodded. I'll come and find you girls tomorrow. You think you can help me study?
Dinky nodded. Scuffle smiled and turned to Honeydew.
Hey, hope you had fun, Dewey, he said, sitting his way awkwardly.
Honeydew nodded emphatically. I did. Thanks for dancing with me, she replied, smiling cheerfully. Dinky was right. The fact that it was you up there did make it a little less scary.
Oh? Scuffle asked, blinking. Thanks.
Anyway, good night.
Honeydew continued. She stepped up to Scuffle and quickly nuzzled him. Yes! OTP confirmed! Woo!
Then turned to try it inside, humming to herself and completely oblivious to the massive blush that crept over the colt's face. Dinky and Clarity grinned in unison. Scuffle noticed their expressions and snorted angrily.
What?
He asked offensively.
You heard what Nestor said. Dancing with some point doesn't mean anything.
Who said the dancing had anything to do with it? Clarity asked in a teasing tone.
Scuffle fumed and looked away, which caused Clarity only more delight. Well, Honeydew, it's not like I like you or anything.
Good night, Scuffle,
she said in a sing-song voice as she tried inside. Scuffle watched her go, and then glanced at Dinky, clearly exasperated. You two don't really think that that me and Honeydew,
Dinky tried. I think the only pony who knows that for sure is you, Scuffle, she giggled. Although, for the record, Clarity tends to be very good at guessing these things.
Scuffle snorted again and turned away, trying back towards his tower. Night, Dinks, he called.
Good night, lover boy.
Dinky chuckled to herself as he entered the tower. Clarity and Honeydew were nowhere to be found. Most likely they already gone upstairs. The filly made her way across the room, but paused at the foot of the stairs when she noticed Sparkler's door was open an inch or two.
I wonder if Sparkler's night went well.
Dinky crept towards the overseer's door and peeked in the small opening. She did her best to stifle a gasp. It looked as if a tornado had blown through the room. School books were strewn everywhere. Sheets and pillows were a mess, dangling half off the bed. The objects on the vanity were scattered, and there were small cracks in the mirror. Most startling, however, was the dress Dinky had seen Sparkler wearing before the party. The garment was shredded almost beyond recognition. What was left of it was dangling pathetically from the bedpost. Sparkler stood at the far end of the room, staring out the window. Dinky watched her stand there, shaking slightly, for a few minutes. Suddenly, the young mayor pounded the window sill with a hoe so hard, Dinky heard the wood crack. "I can't do it!" The overseer yelled to no one in particular. "Why can't I do it?" She collapsed on the carpet. "Who's right?" She moaned. "Is that Philly the crazy one? Or am I?" Dinky had a very good idea she was the Philly in question, but she knew better than to interrupt Sparkler in the middle of such a fit. She carefully backed away and made her way upstairs, with new, concerned thoughts swirling in her head. Dinky spent most weekends either enjoying the weather on the castle grounds or visiting her home in Ponyville. However, this weekend was cold and rainy and dreary, rather befitting the dreary mood of the cultured fillies, desperately preparing for their final exams. Hey, look, you unicorns got your final exams. We Pegasi have our final exams. Some of us just have to practice our weather controlling capabilities a little bit harder than most. Darn you, Rainbow Dash. Dinky, Clarity, Honeydew, and Scuffle sat together at a small table, piled high with books, surrounded by tall bookshelves and vaulted ceilings at the Academy Library. Rain pounded on the arched windows, filling the room with its constant pattering. I had to ask, but, you're scoring weather control? C minus! Dinky set a transformation spellbook aside, sighed wearily, and took a sip of her hayshake. Her friends didn't look much better. Honeydew had been nervously playing with her hair so often that her carefully tied mane was starting to come loose. Scuffle, on the other hoof, seemed to be growing more bored rather than nervous. At the moment, he was attempting to balance his quill on his tip on the end of the table. It's no use, Clarity mumbled, setting down her book. I just can't remember the threshold equations for determining the magical power to size ratio in conjuring spells. Scuffle looked at her from across the table. Gee, Clarity, must be rough, he said, rolling his eyes. You might lose a whole percentage point for missing an equation like that. Clarity scratched some of her muzzle. What's got your tail entangled? She asked Smith. Scuffle sighed. Sorry, he muttered. It's just so far behind. I'm not even past some of my finals. Clarity's expression softened. Oh, right.
Well, I'm prepared for my magical biology final.
Clarity pointed out.
Maybe I can review some points with Scuffle.
Clarity snickered. Honeydew, you've been ready for that final since the first day of class, she commented. And unfortunately, Scuffle doesn't take that class. Scuffle frowned. What about you, Dinks? He asked, turning to her. You busy? Maybe you can help me out? Dinky sighed and rubbed her temples with her forehead.
I want to help, but I got such a headache, she admitted. I can barely focus on my own. Oh.
Dinky stopped mid-sentence, growing softly. She quickly held the book open over her head, finding her horn from prying eyes as it became surrounded in angry black light. It only took her a few minutes for her magic to get under control. She lowered the book, grimacing at the pages she had charred. The Airfoals looked on with concern.
Are you sure you have that under control, Dinky?
Heidi stammered, holding up a book in case she needed to shield herself from an unexpected burst of magic.
I didn't realize it started happening on its own now. Yeah,
Dinky grumbled, rubbing her horn with her hoof.
Mrs. Luna says there's nothing I can do. That I should just stop the magic as soon as I can, whenever it starts. I don't need to report it to her again, else I have to struggle to turn it off.
Isn't that a little unsafe? Clarity asked, her voice dropping to a whisper as the paracolt passed her on the table. Dinky shrugged.
Do you have a better idea? There are unicorns and alicorns who can help me. Sending me home to Ponyville during Scorpio's apex would only put me in more danger if it gets too hard.
She's got a point, Scuffle said, returning to his textbook. Just point that thing away from us if it gets out of control. Okay, Dinks? Dinky managed to smile and nodded.
Don't worry, she reassured her friends. Scorpius Apex is less than a week away. Now only things get easier.
Purple Philly scooted her scuffles.
Yeah, let's try and get some reviewing done for practical magic. Limit stands for... And
just like that, it was final exam week. Looking back, the term seemed to have flown by, at least to Dinky. I know, it was like 16 whole chapters just flew by in an instant. I mean, to Dinky it's been months. To me it feels like it's only been about 4 weeks. And it was safe, she assumed. Because our first term at Celestia's Academy was packed full of more extracurricular events, so she preferred to put it, than that of the average fall. But each student had a unique schedule, with classes in different orders. Exams were scheduled in a way different than Dinky's week was normally structured. On Monday morning, she and Clarity found themselves making their way towards their first exam, which was Transformation and Conjuring.
How's the dark magic?
Clarity asked under her breath.
Are your searches under control? I haven't had one today, Dinky replied. You're under control, for now.
That's good, Clarity sighed, visibly relaxing. Scorpio's apex is on Thursday night. That's only a little more than 3 days away. If you're still doing all right, there's no way you're corrupted enough to be in danger of passing some kind of point of no return, right?
I hope so, Dinky agreed. The princesses told me to report to them immediately if such dark magic starts to mess with my thoughts. As long as that doesn't seem to happen, I don't have to worry too much.
Clarity smirked. Evil Dinky. Somehow, I just can't imagine that. Hey, I can imagine an evil bell. The Phillies arrived in the classroom. Professor Flux ignored the new arrivals as he sat at his desk, snoring gruffly as he struggled to rearrange papers. Nestor appeared at the corner of Dinky's eye, strolling down the wall as if it was a normal floor. Howdy, girls, he said cheerfully. Try not to stress too much about the exam, okay? He leaned in closer, continuing to whisper. I've taken a look at it. It's very difficult, but old Flexi is planning to grade it very lightly. So, the most important thing is to complete it to the best of your ability. Do not try to do everything exactly perfect. The changeling winked and wandered along the wall to comfort some of the other students. All right, quiet down, Professor Flex said finally, tapping the desk with a hoof until the room fell silent. The final exam is composed of a written portion and a practical one. Nesta will be in here making sure you don't cheat. I conduct individual practice exams across the hall. Any questions before we begin? There were none. The professor nodded once in Nester's direction and left the room. Alrighty then, Nestor announced, undertaking to stack up papers from the professor's desk. No point in wasting time. Let's see if you all learn a little about transformation this year. You know the problem with having a changeling as an overseer? Can you imagine what it'd be like if you wanted to whisper some cheats? Psst, hey, what's the answer to number 1? Pfft, nothing you would want to know, cheater! Darn it! 2 hours later, Dinky trudged from the classroom, her mind spinning from dozens of very specific questions. She hoped Nestor's advice would help. Some partial credit on some of Professor Flux's essays would probably help considerably. When Clarity exited the room, however, Dinky couldn't help but frown. Her usually chipper friend looked upset and bewildered. The gray filly slowly stepped over to Dinky, tail tucked behind her legs.
What's wrong? Dinky asked. The exam was hard, but it wasn't that hard. Do you think you didn't do well?
Clarity groaned, taking her head so her shaggy mane covered her eyes. I did well on the written portion, she mumbled. But when we got to the practical bit... A short time earlier. Clarity, Professor Flex called.
Please put down your test and come next door for your practical examination.
Clarity, feeling very confident despite the complexity of the questions, hopped out of her seat and strode across the hall to the small room where Professor Flex waited. The giant stepped her to a table. On it were a dozen apparently identical clay plant pots, lined up in a row.
Your assignment is this.
The professor began.
11 of these are normal plant plots, but one of them is actually a chalice, transformed to look like the others. Figure which one is under the influence of a transformative spell, and change it back to its original form, then use alchemy to turn it to gold. Is that clear?
Clarity nodded and approached the table. At first, there was no apparent way to tell the pots apart. The filly had a knack for spotting illusions, but transformations were harder to find evidence of. Keeping calm, she closed her eyes and reached out with her magic, testing the pots for physical irregularities or traces of magic. Professor Flex stood by, watching silently as his usual austere stare. He didn't interrupt, so Clarity spent several minutes just standing still in front of the pots. It's got to be this one, she stopped finally, staring at the seventh pot in a row. It's faint, but there's something off from it. Clarity let her horn and began a reshaping spell. Sure enough, the pot changed form easily, as if it wanted to transform but was waiting for permission. The middle narrowed, and the pot widened and flattened. The color began to change from dull brown to brilliant gold. Wait, gold? That couldn't be right. The assignment was changed the pot to a chalice, and changed the chalice into gold. If this chalice was already gold, did that mean it was the wrong one? Clarity stopped mid-spell. The half-transformed object wobbled dangerously, frozen in a bizarre shape between the two objects it was composed of. Professor Flex snorted.
Something wrong.
No, Clarity stammered. Just hang on. I'm thinking.
Professor Flex shrugged and waited. How could this be? Clarity again examined the flower pots, but didn't come to any new conclusions about them. The only one that seemed unusual was the ones he already started. Sighing, Clarity did the only things he could think of, using a series of alternating alchemy and transformation spells. She slowly completed the chalice's metamorphosis, alchemizing the way of passes of gold whenever they appeared. When finished, she was left with an unimpressive clay cup. Professor Flex raised an eyebrow, but still remained silent. Clarity performed one more spell, turning the whole cup into gold in a second or two.
There we go.
He said dully. Professor Flex nodded.
Back to the written exam. Clarity.
The filly nodded, scratching her face up in frustration as she tried from the room. Back in the present.
I must have picked the wrong one, Clarity lamented. I'm surprised Professor Flex didn't say anything about Lucid not making a mistake like that.
Dinky opened her mouth to speak, but a different voice spoke to Clarity instead.
It was a trick question, you know.
The fillies turned to find Professor Flex standing beside them, looking stern as always.
Wait, what?
Clarity asked.
The practical exam. It was a trick question.
Professor Flex repeated.
The correct pot was, initially, a golden chalice, but the instructions I gave led the students to believe otherwise.
Clarity blinked.
Does that mean I chose right from the start?
She asked finally. Professor Flex nodded.
You did, but the purpose of the test was to see if you could recognize that. Realizing which pot was transformed, successfully transforming it back, and pointing out to me that no further spells were necessary to achieve the desired form, was to receive full credit.
Dinky and Clarity exchanged a surprised glance.
But...
Clarity looked back at the professor.
But...
Professor Flex cracked a small smile. Something Dinky was unsure she had seen the stallion do, even once all term long.
But your solution, Clarity, was creative, and I dare say entertaining if nothing else. I can't give you full credit, but you performed most of the right spells, and ended up the right place. so you shall see the maturity of it.
Oh, Clarity brightened considerably, switching her tail happily. Well, thanks, Professor.
Professor Fox took a step closer, leaning down so only Dinky and Clarity could hear.
Besides, between you and me,
He continued, speaking directly to Clarity.
even your sister made mistakes. I myself tripped her up once or twice with similar quandaries. I don't know where you got the idea that you are perfect at every subject, but keep doing what you're doing. In a few years, I'm certain professors will be telling stories of your successes to future classes, as well as your sister's.
He straightened out.
Now, I've got to go and prepare exams for the higher level students. You two should return to your own studies.
He trotted off down the hall. Dinky placed a forehead on Clarity's shoulder.
Do you think you stop worrying about whether your sister did and focus on what you can do now?
She asked with a giggle. Clarity blushed.
I suppose so.
She admitted, returning to chuckle.
But that doesn't mean we can let up on the studying. Let's go find Honeydew and Scuffle and get to work.
The Great Filly took off down the hall, and Dinky grinned and quickly followed. Don't let that magic get out of control, Dinky.
Are there any more dreams? Any bursts of dark magic you had to lose? Talk to the princesses if you need help. The night is getting close. So close.
That night, just 3 days before Scorpio's apex, things started to go bad. It started with soft footsteps, soft yet echoing. They stirred Dinky from her dreamless sleep. Vaguely, her mind surged to life beneath the pall of sleep. She tried to look around, but there was only blackness. She couldn't see anything around her, or herself for that matter. The darkness was all-consuming, and the silence only broken by footsteps, growing slowly louder. Dinky cleared her throat.
Hello?
Promptly, the footsteps stopped. Dinky sat up and swallowed her ears, straining to hear anything. Again, she tried to speak.
Is anyone fit?
Wham!
Dinky squeaked in surprise and pain as he was pinned against the wall with incredible force. As he collided, the pressing darkness and intense silence were broken, replaced all at once with a familiar cave of glowing blue rock and sifting mist. And immediately in front of her appeared Sunbeam, standing on his hind legs and holding her against the wall with a single forehoof. With strength far greater than a colt his size should have been able to muster. Dinky tried to cry out, but her voice turned to a cough as she opened her mouth from the pressure Sunbeam was applying to her chest. She flailed her hind legs frantically, trying to wriggle free. Impressive, isn't it? Sunbeam asked calmly, staring at Dinky with bright blue eyes, accentuated by the cavern's glow. My power is reaching its fullest extent. Yes, it is. It's become so strong, in fact, that I have shut the dream-walking princess out of here altogether. No doubt, she is on her way to your bedside in the waking world to wake you in person. But by then, the damage will be done. Yes, it will. Dinky's pupils shrank to tiny dots as he struggled twice as hard to free herself. Sunbeam, annoyed, only increased the pressure. Almost immediately, Dinky had to cease for moments, struggling just to take a breath with the weight on her chest. Now, I'd help you along, Sunbeam continued, but I don't think I even need to this time, do I? As soon as you stop resisting its power, Scorpio's glorious magic will flow from you. Yes, it will. Dinky's only response was another gasp for air. Her vision beginning to fog as her consciousness slipped away.
Can I even fall unconscious here? I'm dreaming after all. I'm already unconscious.
Despite the logic, Dinky found it harder and harder to struggle or to focus on any one thing. Her sight was blurry, ears ringing, and the sensation of magic in her horn had risen from a dull itch to a relentless pounding. Desperate to relieve at least one of the discomforts, she let some of the magic flow. It was a bad mood. Black energy poured from her horn in thick clouds, rolling down her body and melting into her fur. Helpless, she limp, covering the field of smoke-like magic. Suddenly, relief. Pressure on Dinky's chest vanished as she dropped to the floor like a discarded rag doll. Groaning, she curled up and squeezed her eyes shut.
How many more times am I going to have to save you, kid?
A gruff male voice said, just inches from her ear. That voice again. Dinky had never seen the strange stallion that kept fending off Sunbeam in her dream world, but she could barely move. So rather than lifting her head to search for her rescuer, she simply asked,
Who are you?
Long story, not important. Tell you about it another time. As usual, priority right now is waking you up.
You! Or Sunbeam from somewhere across the room. The filly would be another race by now if it were not for your constant intrusions. Yes, she would.
Stuff it, half pint, the stallion replied. This game you're playing with her is just getting tiring.
Half pint, Sunbeam snarled. You know full well that I...
Yeah, I know full well you keep taking that fall,
the stallion said, cutting him off.
You're always going to make yourself look like a half pint. I might as well call you one.
Dinky had no idea what the stallion's response meant, but she had little time to think about it. Through some force of will that wasn't her own, she felt herself slipping out of the dream and back into reality. No, Sunbeam yelled, voice becoming more distinct. Not this time! Give her back to me! Dinky played several times, trying to focus her eyes. Her dorm room was crowded with ponies. Princess Luna was front and center, standing directly overhead, her horns still glowing with deep blue magic, and her expression serious. Clarity and Honeydew stood one to one side, looking terrified, and an apprehensive Sparkler stood on the other. Are you okay, young one? Luna asked, running the tip of her hoof along Dinky's sweat-soaked forehead. Dinky's mouth felt dry as a desert, but she managed to mumble,
I think so.
Luna nodded. Somehow, I was caught off guard. I was unable to step in and keep watch in your dream, so I came directly here. Your young friends had already alerted your overseer that you were experiencing a dark magic fit and were unable to be aroused. She was on her way to find me when I arrived. Sparkler nodded curtly and said nothing. How do you feel? Luna asked. Have you had fleeting thoughts of fineness, destruction, or manipulation? Dinky shook her head.
No, nothing like that. Doesn't hear us use spells to see he's annoying and feeling my horn.
Luna breathed a sigh of relief. That is fortunate. Considering the date, I expected worse. She turned to Sparkler. Thank you for your prudent response, she said. You may return to your room. Yes, Princess. I'm Dinky, Luna continued, looking back to the filly in bed. Rest. The worst of your ordeal has already passed. You must be strong. Dinky nodded weakly.
I will. Thanks for saving me, Princess.
Luna smiled and nodded once before, slowly trotting from the room. You okay? Clarity asked, once every pony else had gone.
Yeah,
Dinky replied.
I'll make it. Somebody's looking out for me.
What do you mean? Me and Honeydew, Princess Luna. But Dinky already rolled it over, exhausted and aching, and falling promptly back asleep. The next morning was surprisingly normal. Dinky half expected to feel terrible, but she awoke not much for the worse for wear. Briefly, she pondered whether it was a good or bad that dark magic didn't seem to be taking much of a negative toll on her physique, but she decided not to dwell on it. As usual, Honeydew was already awake and sitting on the bench in front of the window, her narratives buried in a textbook. She looked up and smiled faintly as Dinky climbed out of bed.
Hello, Dinky. Are you alright?
Dinky nodded.
Fine for now. Are you ready for...
A chunk of mud, propelled by magic, hit the outside of the window with a loud thump. Honeydew leapt from her seat like a scared kitten and cowered behind Dinky, shivering. Raising an eyebrow, Dinky tried to the window and gently pushed it open. Peering downward, she spied a familiar brown colt, looking up from below. Hey! Scuffle called. Is Dewey up there? Honeydew tried to the window and looked down.
Hi, Scuffle,
she called. What are you waiting for? Scuffle yelled back, tapping her forehead impatiently. I thought you were going to bring Dinks and Clarity to go over our notes one more time.
But Dinky only just woke up, and Clary's still asleep,
Honeydew called. Dinky noted that Clarity was, in fact, out like a light, despite the yelling of her friends.
Hey, hon, I'll come down and we can go study, and they can join us when Clarity gets up.
Dinky was positive, even from a great height, as he saw Scuffle blush at the proper system of alone time with Honeydew. Hurry up, then! He shouted, doing his best to appear indifferent to the idea. Dinky closed the window, and Honeydew rushed to grab her things.
If you don't make it to the library in time, I'll see you at the practical magic exam, okay?
Dinky grinned.
Don't Leah?
She giggled, like irritating maliciously.
Clarity and I are probably going to take our time.
Honeydew blinked.
What?
She asked, flattening her ears nervously.
Nothing.
Dinky laughed.
Get going. Scuffle's in the pizza store.
Honeydew nodded, and cantered from the room, leaving Dinky giggling behind her. Sunlight poured through the tall windows of the grand floor hallway. Dinky and Clarity arrived at the outside of the practical magic classroom to find Scuffle and Honeydew already there, both reviewing a lesson on illusions. Scuffle looked up when he heard the village approach, and his tense demeanor relaxed a bit as he spotted Dinky and Clarity. There you are, he breathed. It's almost time. I'm still not sure I'm ready.
Why are you so worried about this particular exam?
Dinky asked curiously.
Some of your classes might be tougher than practical magic, right? Yes, this one's got the highest stakes.
Honeydew suddenly interjected.
The magic we learn in this class is important. Basic material that's necessary in order to be proficient in almost all other types of magic. So if a pony does poorly on this exam, they might need to take remedial classes, or might not even be permitted to continue studying.
Noticing her friend's surprised stares, she blushed and looked back to her book.
Or, that's what Professor Morningstar told Scuffle anyway.
So basically, I need to pass this test, Scuffle said. And if I don't, maybe I'm not gifted enough to attend a school for gifted unicorns. Clarity patted Scuffle on the back. Don't panic, Scuffle, she advised. Maybe you're not one of the most remarkable students at the academy, but I've seen you perform most of the spells we'll need to know for the exam without most trouble. Well, Dewey's been really great at helping me review, Scuffle admitted, smiling, winking, and glancing at Honeydew.
Don't mention it,
Honeydew said cheerfully, tossing her book into her saddlebag.
Come on, we should get to our seats.
The pink filly led the way into the classroom. Clarity was next, but Scuffle moved forward to follow. But Dinky reached out and held him back. What's up, Dinks? He asked curiously, turning around at her touch.
I have something for you,
Dinky replied, reaching into her own bag.
It says a little good luck charm, but I thought you might appreciate it.
Dinky's bag was so full of textbooks, it took her a while to unearth what she was searching for. Eventually, she pulled out a small, worn book and passed it to Scuffle, who looked intrigued as he glanced at the title. Simple Spells and Charms, a handbook of magic for the beginning unicorn. The colt looked up, shocked. This is the beginner's guide, he stuttered. The one I stole from you. Dinky nodded.
And now, I'm letting you borrow it in good faith. You know, just till exams are over.
She explained, smiling sweetly.
I know the book isn't much help to either of us now, but you can hang on to it as a reminder that your friends are here to offer their time and effort to help you, no matter what happens.
Scuffle remained still for some time, then gave Dinky the most extenuating, grateful smile she ever seen produce. Thanks, Dinky, he replied, surprising the filly bit by not using her nickname. Let's go ace this thing! Dinky quickly learned the setup of her transformation exam was the norm for the finals of the academy. The practical magic exam also consisted of both written and hands-on portions. This time, however, Professor Morningstar waited until all the students had finished the written test before beginning anything else. So, the stallion began, as the last of the papers levitated to his desk. The practical portion of my exam is a little different than the ones the other professors will give you. For this test, you will need to work in groups. A excited murmur spread throughout the class. Morningstar chuckled and shook his head. Now, don't get too excited, he interrupted, waving his front hose. I'll be the one choosing the groups. There was a collective groan. It was only seen to delight the professor further, But, he continued, once the sound had faded, to do well, cooperation is important. So, I've chosen groups based on the ponies I've already seen each of you work well with. He gave the rolling chalkboard a kick and flipped it over, revealing names arranged into sets of four on the other side. True to his word, they were grouped in much the same way the students usually group themselves. Dinky, Clarity, Honeydew, and Scuffle were assigned to work together. At each station, you will see a number of wooded blocks of various sizes, as well as some crafting tools. He explained as the students made their way to the enforcement stations. You are not allowed to physically touch any of the materials or tools. It's all enchanted to change color if you do, so don't try it. Using only magic you learned in this class, use the tools and materials to build a realistic replica of a unicorn. I'll be watching to make sure each group member is pulling their weight. Begin, and good luck. Dinky noticed Scuffle glancing between the wood and fillies, looking panicked. Build a unicorn using only practical spells? How the hey did we do that? Dinky had already started levitating some of the blocks.
Keep calm. It's not hard, she told him. Help us pick up the blocks and arrange them into roughly the shape of a pony, okay?
Scuffle shrugged and followed Dinky's advice. Together, the four foals stacked a large, long block on top of the four smaller ones, then added additional ones for a head and tail. Fortunately, even Scuffle had no trouble with something like levitation, and he completed the task as easily as his friends.
I guess we need to carve it now, right?
Honeydew asked, inspecting the cubes.
Even said like this. It's not shaped much like a pony.
Clarity grabbed the tools in Aurora and passed them to the other ponies. All right, Honeydew, she replied, nodding. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just tip out a rough pony shape and do the rest with illusions. Dinky began to do her part to whittle out a pony from wood. She groaned, however, when she noticed Scuffle beginning to struggle. Come on, you piece of junk, he grunted, fumbling with the chisel and Zora. Just carve away that bit and... oh, darn it! Try as he might, Scuffle wasn't terribly dexterous when it came to fine movements with magic. And again, his tools either made ineffective strokes or accidentally leveled off a portion of wood not meant to be removed. Dinky glanced across the room and noticed Professor Morningstar watching them. The extra pressure was probably not improving Scuffle's performance.
Just slow down a bit, Scuffle, Honeydew said gently. We're not in a big hurry. Focus on handling the tool carefully first, and carving the pony second. Use the manipulation of objects test. I've seen you do it lots of times.
Scuffle chewed his lip and nodded. Got it. I'll be careful. The close inputs to the statue's final form slowed down considerably. But fortunately, his precision improved. By the time the wood was all carved, it looked considerably close to the shape of a foal. Clarity expected their work. It's not exactly delicate, she admitted. It'd probably be easier to disguise it as a colt than a filly. Scuffle, do you mind if we use you for the model? Scuffle shrugged. Go for it. I'm not very good at illusions, though.
You gotta try,
Dinky urged. Scuffle shrugged. I'll just mess it up, like I did with the carving.
We want you to get good scores too, Scuffle,
Honeydew said, stepping in once again.
You can do solid-colored illusions. I know you can. Clarity can handle the more intricate bits.
Scuffle looked into Honeydew's pleading eyes and sighed. Yeah, all right. Let me see if I can get the coat color nice and even. Dinky cast a mirthful glance at Clarity and suppressed a chuckle. Scuffle's infatuation with Honeydew was growing more apparent by the minute. Now she was even managing to contribute in ways she and Clarity could not. Just as Honeydew predicted, Scuffle managed a color change illusion that made the surface of the wood look like his own coat. It only took a few adjustments from the fillies to round out the shape a bit. Not bad, Professor Morningstar commented, trotting over to the nearly finished replica of the colt. Scuffle, why don't you do the last bit yourself? I want to make sure you're up to par, after all. Scuffle blinked. Didn't I do enough to help? He asked nervously, looking at the floor. Oh, you did enough today, the professor responded. In the past, though, I've noticed your friends often did the lion's share of the work on some projects. Scuffle took a step back. Well,
Scuffle knows what he's doing,
Heidi said, her voice surprisingly firm.
He'll put the last spells on the replica and show you. Right, Scuffle?
Scuffle seemed to inflate where he stood. Right! He replied. Just what? The cult lit his horn, and the light began to flicker from within the sculpture. Eventually, it grew bright enough to illuminate the eyes, giving the statue a lifelike expression. With a final flourish, slate blue magic appeared around his horn, surrounding the aura around Scuffle's own. It was now almost impossible to tell Replica apart from Scuffle himself. Professor Morningstar raised his eyebrows. Very good, he said tearfully. I'm glad you've been studying as hard as your friends, after all. You all get A's on the practical part of the exam. Scuffle's jaw dropped as the stallion walked away. I got an A?
Of course you did, Dinky giggled. You did just as well as the rest of us. You deserve it. I knew you could do it, said Honeydew.
Scuffle turned away to hide another bless. The Tiny Two tugged on his tail with magic.
Now, come on. Now that the test is over, let's go celebrate with some lunch.
Scuffle smiled. Right behind you, Dewey. The two foals left the room, while Dinky and Clarity lingered. That is just adorable, Clarity remarked starry-eyed. How long do you think it'll take her to figure it out? Dinky smirked.
It's Honeydew. She might not figure it out until Scuffle tells her.
The four fillies hurried from the room to catch up with their friends. The celebration for Scuffle, while joyful, was short-lived. After all, there were 3 more days of exams still to come. Dinky's day after that was largely uneventful until after the sun had set. Once night fell, she set off for an astronomy review Princess Luna was offering her first-term students. Scuffle, who also had to class, begrudgingly tagged along. But I don't want to go to extra class, the cult grumbled, trudging along with the corridors behind Dinky. This should be our time to goof off for a while. Dinky rolled her eyes.
Hush, Scuffle. Your starry grade needs a boost. This will be good for you.
Scuffle scrunched up his nose. If this is about improving grades, then why are you going? Yes, irritably. Your astronomy grade is fine.
I'm just going so I can talk to Princess Luna. I got something I need to ask her about.
Scuffle ceased his whining and grew more serious. Oh, about the dark magic stuff?
Scorpia's apex is only 2 days away from now,
Dinky pointed out as he reached the astronomy room.
If anything's going to, happen to me, it's going to happen soon. I need to be ready.
Scuffle swallowed and stayed quiet as the floor to the tower began its ascent to the roof. The evening passed quickly. Princess Luna appeared moments after the classroom emerged into the night air, slipping down from the dark skies in her usual dramatic fashion. Soon, every pony attending the session had focused one of the telescopes on whatever constellation they needed to review the configuration of, and Luna herself wandered from pony to pony, providing pointers. Good evening, Scuffle, Dinky, the princess said as she arrived in front of them, nodding at each foal in turn. Have you two encountered any problems preparing for my exam? Nah, Scuffle replied, perhaps more casually than he would have when addressing a princess. I just have a couple of questions about some of the star charts. He turned away and peered into his telescope. Talk to Dinks, though, first, he continued, waving a forehoof. She's got more important stuff to ask you about. Princess Luna turned to Dinky. I take it this has something to do with last night, the Alcorn asked. Dinky nodded solemnly.
With Scorpia's apex so close, I feel it'd probably be important for me to check in with you one more time, especially after what happened last night.
Princess Luna smiled. To be honest, I probably would have sought you out myself after this review, had you not come to it, she responded. I am, however, pleased to know you have the foresight to be securing your own safety concerning these troubled times. Dinky looked at the heavens, where the all-too-familiar stars of Scorpio loomed dangerously close to overhead.
If I can make it just a few more days, you'll start to get easier,
she said, not taking her eyes off the sky.
I'll do whatever it takes to make it there.
For your sake, I hope it all goes well from here, Luna agreed. Now, what did you talk to you about?
It's about the dreams I've been having,
Dinky said, shivering a bit at the thought of her last terrifying experience.
Some means that he's found a way to block you out.
Luna looked grave. Alas, I fear the scoundrel is not bluffing, she admitted with a sigh. though it is not through his power that this has come to be. The power dark magic uses is increasing at this time of year, but in your dreams, you are still the most powerful. My inability to help is simply because the darkness inside you has become nearly impenetrable to forces such as dream intervention.
That's what I don't understand,
Dinky continued, cocking her head slightly.
You're a princess. Even you can't enter my dreams now, but somebody else can.
Luna stepped back as startled. And who is this pony? She asked, puzzled.
That's the thing. I have no idea,
Dinky said.
All I can tell you is a stallion. It sounds like he's an adult, but it's not a voice I recognize. I've never actually seen him, so I can't describe him either.
And what is the stallion doing in your dreams? Luna asked.
Saving me!
Dinky exclaimed, hopping in place.
Each time you weren't there to protect me, the stallion stopped Sunbeam instead. If it wasn't for him, Sunbeam may have been able to, you know.
She trailed off, but Luna seemed to know what she meant. Listen to me, young one, the princess instructed. I do not know the identity of this dreamwalker, but for now, I would consider it lucky that he is on your side. In these final days before the evening, when the darkness is strongest, all I can ask you is to take great care during your waking hours, not to be lured into any more use of dark magic. As for tonight, I shall provide your roommates with a magical means of contacting me, so I can come to your aid in reality, should you be attacked again in your dreams. Dinky let out a relieved breath.
Thanks. That'll definitely make me feel safer.
Luna was silent for a few moments. It pains me to see a fifth of your age having to suffer this ordeal, she said finally, lowering her head slightly. I have to say, I admire your strength both physically and mentally. Prove to me you can make it the rest of the way through this trial. Dinky placed a hoof on her chest in a promissory gesture.
I'll do my very best, princess. I will let the darkness win.
Luna nodded, clearly satisfied, then stepped aside to tend to Scuffle's astronomical questions, leaving Dinky to gaze up at the stars. That night was mercifully uneventful. Dinky was thrilled to awaken the next morning without having any nocturnal interruptions on Sunbeam's part. The rather rhythmic ache of dark magic inside her head was still as present as ever, but she'd gotten quite good at ignoring it. Dinky and Honeydew had their magical biology exam next, a test both of them felt pretty prepared for. Honeydew knew every bit of the material like the back of her hoof. The studying she had done with Dinky in the preceding days, she helped the purple filly to learn it almost as well. The test itself wasn't notable at all compared to the exams before it. Honeydew raced through both written and practical tests, completed in barely a quarter hour, and Dinky, though far behind her friend, was still among the first students to finish. She tried out into the hall, where Honeydew was waiting for her.
Wow, Honeydew, you blazed through that!
Honeydew blushed, and rubbed the forehoof against the back of the other slyly.
I wasn't that fast.
She tried to argue.
I had to stop and think about 2 or 3 questions, maybe.
Don't be modest, kid, squawked Cornelius, as he fluttered about the classroom and perched on one of the buns in Honeydew's mane. Professor Chestnut's been teaching this class for longer than you've been alive. I don't think he's ever seen a pony man step before. Yes, you're quite an impressive featy. Professor Chestnut laughed, as she too emerged from the classroom, causing Honeydew to blush and attempt to hide her face. I can't wait for the next term. I can't even imagine what you'll be able to accomplish. Honeydew smiled weakly.
I look forward to it,
She replied.
I just wish this term wasn't over so soon. I'm not looking forward to going months without magical biology.
The professor chuckled. Nonsense, she proclaimed. You can practice all you want over the break, and read up on new topics. I wouldn't be so surprised if you come to me at the beginning of next term with dozens of new questions. Heidi shook her head.
No, that's not what I mean.
She mumbled.
I can't use any magic at home.
The professor's brow knitted behind her white sun hat. What do you mean?
Can we, go to your office and talk about it?
Heidi asked softly.
Dinky can come too. She already knows about my home life.
I'll have to wait for the remaining students to finish the exam, Professor Chestnut replied. But you two can wait in my office. I'll meet you there. Dinky waited until the professor and Cornelius left the hall before returning to Honeydew and asking an important question.
Where is Professor Chestnut's office anyway?
Honeydew giggled.
I'll show you.
Honeydew led up Dinky up a flight of stairs, and now in a narrow passage the latter had never explored before. At the end of the hall was a simple wooden door bearing Professor Chestnut's name. The fillies let themselves in. At first glance, Dinky couldn't be certain if the professor's office was exceptionally small, or it was simply so packed with objects that it appeared that way. The desk was cluttered with books, diagrams, potted plants, clumps of seemingly random organic material, most of which was laying mounted beneath magnifying glasses. The walls were covered in maps of remote parts of Equestria. Our town. And large, detailed posters displaying the anatomy and morphology of various plants and objects. The one corner that wasn't set to the ceiling with boxes of dried plant material or anti-mallow cases held a small stinking stove, both of which were littered with glass vials containing liquids of various colors. Hey, I found a mana potion! Behind the desk was a large window. Outside hung several birdhouses. One of them, Dinky assumed must have belonged to Cornelius, was notably larger and more ornate than the rest. Honeydew sighed serenely.
Other than our dorm, this is the room I'm most comfortable,
She said.
Professor Chestnut is so brilliant. I just get lost in an intellectual discussion and forget my cares for a while.
Professor Chestnut arrived before Dinky could respond. Hello, girls, she said, brushing a large pile of scrolls aside to reveal a pair of empty chairs. Excuse the mess. Why don't you sit down so we can talk? As the girls seated themselves, Cornelius strutted around the brim of the professor's hat. So, what's all this malarkey about not using magic? He asked, clicking and speaking hesitation.
Oh, right,
Honeydew replied.
I haven't really talked about my life since I told Dinky and Clarity the details on our first day.
Dinky watched the brief, peaceful mood drain away from her friend, quickly replaced by concern. Honeydew recounted the tale of her discovery of magic and her unicorn-phobic family to Professor Chestnut, nervously touching the knots in her horn every few minutes.
I've been trying not to think about going home,
She added, once her story was finished.
but the truth is, the term is just about over, and when I go home, I can't be the unicorn I am here. I can't be an earth pony either, because I wasn't born that way. I'll just be useless again.
You know, I've been focusing so much more on everything else about Honeydew that I almost completely forgot. Dinky realized somewhat savingly she hadn't gotten much thought of what would become of Honeydew once she was forced to return to her magic-hating parents. She patted her friend on the back comfortably, while Professor Chestnut looked upon the morose filly with compassionate eyes. I'm so sorry to hear what it's like for her back home, the mare began, shaking her head and causing Cornelius to wobble dangerously and utter a few quiet expletives. But it seems there's one part of your story that may offer you a chance to form some sort of compromise with your parents. Honeydew blinked.
How? My parents won't even allow the simplest of spells in their house.
Chestnut nodded impatiently. Honeydew, dear, how old were you when you first discovered how to use magic?
I don't know exactly,
Honeydew replied.
5 or 6?
And how old are you now?
14.
In the intervening years, did you ever work in the fields with your parents?
Well, of course,
Honeydew said.
I enjoyed it, I suppose, but, well, back then they were just plants. I didn't really become interested in them until my tutor started teaching me magic.
Nice job, by the way, Trixie. No problem. Professor Chestnut seemed pleased by this answer. Dinky had no idea why. It judging by Honeydew's expression, neither did she. Now tell me, Honeydew, the mayor continued, what have you learned about those plants since your magic studies began? Honeydew raised an eyebrow.
More than I can say in a few minutes we have,
She replied slowly. Chestnut chuckled. Summarize. Honeydew pondered for a moment.
Well, I guess plants and all living things for that matter are individuals just like ponies are. A lot of ponies kind of intimidate me, but many other living things aren't so scary or temperamental or dangerous. Forming connections with peaceful plant life is one of the only ways I can relax and be happy.
The professor was quiet for a few seconds. So, she said finally, When you go home, I imagine most of what you'd be doing is working with your family's plants, right? She asked. Just because you aren't using magic doesn't mean each and every one of those plants isn't an individual, just as you said they are.
But without an individual, I can't sense them.
I do like it.
I can't connect with them.
Why not? Professor Chestnut asked, looking genuinely curious. The Earth ponies do it.
We're unicorns.
Huntington deadpan. True, Professor Chestnut said, reaching out to idly stroke Cornelius. It remained quiet for a surprisingly long time. Connecting with Equestria's other living things through simple, non-magical interaction comes more naturally to Earth ponies than it does to us unicorns. She grinned. Well, that just means you got something new to try to master. Something I can't teach you anyway. Maybe you could use this break from classes to study it yourself.
Can a honey unicorn really learn to connect to the Earth without unicorn magic?
Honeydew asked, rubbing a hoof on the other uncertainly. With enough practice, it's possible to learn to some extent, the professor replied, especially with a pony like you, Honeydew, with a large pony lineage and a special talent in the subject. In your case in particular, it may be possible to do so, even without spells, very neatly as well as an Earth pony could. Think about it, Cornelia said loudly. Imagine if you could become super talented and understanding and connecting with life and without magic. You could become an absolute authority in your field by the time you're as old as this old bat beneath me. Honeydew giggled.
Well, I'll certainly give it a try.
She promised, looking considerably brighter.
Maybe I can even learn some things I couldn't have learned with magic.
I don't doubt it, Professor Chestnut laughed. And when you return next term, you can tell me all about what you discovered. Trust me, she'll want to hear all of it, Cornelius said, rolling his eyes. Every last pointless inane. The professor cleared her throat loudly to quiet the bird. Does that help? She asked finally. Honeydew nodded emphatically.
Yes, lots. Thank you, Professor.
Good, the man replied. And Dinky, you have a really good friend here. Make sure you support her in this. Dinky laughed.
Of course, Professor.
Professor Chestnut smiled. Excellent. Now I've got to start cleaning. You two should get back to studying. See you. Honeydew waved and practically skipped from the room. Dinky followed her, her own spirits lifted by Honeydew's mood. You know, it's quite scary how well you do that Ron the Man impersonation. I'm surprised I actually knew who Ron the Man was. The rest of the folks are not going to get that joke. Not at all. Dinky didn't allow herself any extended period of sleep that night, to make sure she didn't deep enough into her dreams to allow Sunnyboom to come after her. After a few brief naps, it woke at dawn with Honeydew. To most ponies, the date was Thursday, November the 7th. But this year, Dinky knew it as the Scorpio's apex. Determined to keep her mind off of sunbeam, dark magic, or anything else associated with the foreboding occasion, she headed to the forests before lunch to try once again to help Trouble. Trouble did not so much as look up as Dinky skidded down the dirt tunnel into the hideout. Despite regular feeding and near daily attempts to magically improve his health, the poor fox seemed weaker and sicker than ever. The filly approached his cardboard box and stroked his head.
Ready to try this again, Trouble?
The fox's eyes turned to look at her, but he didn't move.
You know, in 2 days, the term is over, Dinky said. If I can't help you by then, well...
We get Weapon F.
Oh, my.
She fell silent. Trouble sneezed.
Let's get this another shot.
She sighed. Yellow light radiated from the filly's horn. She let go of the surrounding sensation, focusing only on Trouble. As usual, within moments, she had slipped her consciousness into his, and only seconds later was met with some resistance.
Relax, Trouble. Relax,
the filly cooed, hoping the soothing tone of her voice would calm her patient.
I'm here to help. I promise.
They were basically the same words she had said a dozen times before, but Trouble didn't seem calm. Dinky began to feel the sensation of being forced from his mind.
Trouble, please,
she said more loudly.
I can't keep taking care of you. I don't want to lose you. Please, just let me help. Trying not to let a sob escape her, the filly concentrated all the harder, despite desperate to get her feelings across the trouble. Then, very slowly, the resistance began to disappear. Spurred on, Dinky deepened the connection as soon as trouble allowed it. The sickness and pain flowed through her, causing her to wobble where she stood. Grinding her teeth, she ignored the discomfort and attempted to initiate the healing spell, while hoping she created a strong enough bond with the fox to make it work. For a while, nothing seemed to be happening. Dinky continued to send trouble both feelings of goodwill to keep the trust connection open, the special waves of energy she learned from the professor. Gradually, the weakness and anguish flowing between the filly and fox began to fade. Dinky felt herself growing tired from the strenuous spell, but refused to give up now she had finally made progress. For several minutes more, the two sat in silence. Trouble's vitality slowly returned. The fox began to stir more and more with each passing moment, slowly allowing Dinky more and more of his trust, strengthening the spell until it had completed its job. Her task finally complete, Dinky collapsed on the floor and shut off her horn, panting hard.
Does that feel better?
She asked between breaths. Yep. Trouble sat up, looking stunned. For a moment, the fox was still. Then he got out of the box and onto Dinky. Look at your face and said here into a fit of giggles. Oh, my heart! Oh, this is so sweet. Absolutely nothing can ruin this.
We did it!
She laughed, rolling around as Trouble nuzzled.
You're better. I'm so happy.
I am too, Dinky. There's absolutely nothing that could possibly ruin... Yes, how touching. Oh, dang it! Dinky froze, suddenly silent. Her gaze snapped to the entrance of the hideout, where Sunbeam was leaning against the earthen wall, looking quite pleased with himself. Happy Scorpio's apex, Nicole said in a surprisingly good-natured tone. Are you ready for tonight? I am. Dinky stood up.
You got guts showing yourself today,
she said, working hard to keep her voice steady.
Everyone knows what today is. Everyone is on the lookout for anything suspicious.
Sunbeam scoffed. The officials at this school are not very good at tracking me. No, they are not, he pointed out. I've been right here on campus all year long, and those guards have yet to notice any trace of me. You're kidding yourself if you think today will be any different. Yes, you are. He had a point. Dinky said nothing. As I was saying, I'm so looking forward to tonight. The evil cult continued. By tomorrow, every pony will be acutely aware that they are living in one of the darkest new eras of Equestria's history. I just dropped by to thank you in advance for helping me make it possible. Yes, I did.
I didn't do anything, Dinky snarled. Whatever you're planning, it's not going to work. I can't imagine how you get away with unleashing some kind of great darkness without somebody at the academy noticing.
Who said anything about the academy? Sunbeam laughed, flicking his short tail back and forth in amusement. I've already done what I needed to do here. Corrupt and unsuspecting filly like you. The rest I could do slightly further away, out of sight of prying eyes. Yes, I can. And no pony will know anything is amiss until it's much too late. Dinky again had no reply. Well, that's all, really, Sunbeam said in a noncommittal shrug. Ta-ta, Dinky. I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Yes, I will. As a valuable ally, of course. Chuckling, the colt turned away and trotted casually up the tunnel, leaving the filly behind. Neither of the princesses were present at the academy, but Dinky wasted no time in proceeding to the mailroom and sending a message via Twinkletoes about what had just happened. She received a reply within moments, telling her that special precautions regarding Scorpio's apex have already been taken, instructing her to stay at the castle or residence tower until the following morning. This offered her little comfort, though. After all, Sunbeam had been correct. The precautions in place to prevent him from causing further harm had been entirely ineffective in the preceding months. Feeling a bit sick to her stomach,
Dinky made her way to the castle to her enchantments exam. "There you are," Clarity said, clearly relieved as Dinky arrived. "The test is starting any minute. Where were you?"
"I was at your hideout too,"
Dinky began, but was cut off by Professor Lester's arrival. "Exam time!" the mayor announced. "I know it's Thursday, and you've all been through quite a few tests lately, but after tomorrow you can all have a few relaxing months off. Besides, this one will be hard. I'm confident you have the skills to cast a few basic enchantments." As usual, gemstones were distributed to the recipient of each enchantment. Each student received 5 smaller stones and a piece of paper containing instructions. For the practical part of your exam, each of you has to perform 5 spells. Imbue your gems with the proper magic, and then place them on the bin at my desk. You have trouble and need to start fresh? You can ask for a new gem at the cost of a few percentage points from your score. Clarity raised her hoof. "If we do create a botched enchantment, but manage to remove it, can we re-enchant our original gem and not lose credit?" she asked. "Yes, you may," Professor Lester replied. "Now, since you may need to test your enchantments, I'll put up a soundproofing spell between the desks so you don't disturb one another. Then, if there are no more questions, you can all get started." No pony had anything to add, so Professor Lester lit her horn, and a blurry, translucent veil rose up between the individual desks. Dinky soon found herself in complete silence. The filly tried to forget about Sunbeam for a few minutes and focus on her tests. She picked up the first gem and glanced at the enchantment on the list.
"Blastproof charm. Enchant 1 gem so it will not chip or shatter when it explodes through powerful energy blast or concussive force."
Dinky looked at her choices. Obviously, there were no diamonds, or other specifically hard gems that would have a chance of withstanding force on her own. She picked up a smooth piece of turquoise.
"Okay, this spell is easy," she realized. "1 strengthening charm coming up."
Dinky's yellow aura surrounded the stone for a few seconds. Once she was satisfied the spell had worked, she slammed her forehoof down against the stone. It didn't yield, so she lifted it high in the air with magic and brought it down against the wood with even greater force. But it remained perfectly intact. Dinky smiled and sent the stone through the soundproof veil onto the professor's desk. For a short time after that, Dinky worked efficiently on the excitement, satisfied with how her enchantment stones were turning out. In only a quarter hour or so, she finished infusing the 4 of the 5 gems with magic. She glanced at the last enchantment on the list.
"Sweet Dreams charm. Enchant 1 gem so that, when it fixed to jewelry or another article of clothing, will give the wearer pleasant dreams."
Dinky smiled.
"Boy, I can use a charm like that," she thought to herself. "I doubt something as simple as an enchanted gem would keep Sunbeam out of my head, but it's a nice thought."
Dinky thought back to what Sunbeam had said to her not long before, and a brief contentment finding away quickly.
"I might not have any more nice and sweet dreams if Sunbeam gets away with whatever he's planning,"
she thought, slipping in her chair.
"I have to put forth continuous effort to hold back my own dark magic, which means he's probably just brimming with power."
As if sensing being thought about, the dark magic in Dinky suddenly decided to push forward. She groaned and leaned her head to the desk, placing her head between her forelegs to shield it from view as black energy formed around her horn against her will.
"No!"
She shouted angrily, trying to stem the outburst.
"I don't care if it's Scorpio's apex. I'm not letting this get the best of me."
Dinky grunted, sensing every muscle she had to force the magic to full stop. The black energy gave a loud crackle, almost as if in protest, as it vanished. The filly suddenly felt especially grateful for the soundproofing around her. Between her quick reaction to hide her horn and this muffling of the crackling sound, the little attack had gone unnoticed by the rest of the class. Her last gem, however, not fared well. Then lying in front of her when she lowered her head, and the dangerous energy come in contact with it, warping and partially melting it. The pristine surface was all wavy and blackened, and Dinky suspected the gem itself probably contained some remnants of dark energy. Sighing, she tossed it into the trash, then stood and passed through the sound barriers to the front desk.
"Professor, I need another gem."
Professor looked up from her gradebook and raised an eyebrow. "You? That's a surprise. Your enchantments are usually so well done. Are you sure the last one's beyond your help?" Dinky glanced at the trash can, where a thin wisp of smoke was gently rising into the air.
"I'm sure.
The mayor shrugged and passed Dinky another gem, writing a small red X in her checkbook as he did so.
You'll be done worrying about Sunbeam a little later,
she assured herself as he returned to her seat.
I have to focus and finish this out before something else goes wrong.
Forewarned, but determined, the filly placed the new gem in front of her and set to work again. Dinky, Clarity, Honeydew, and Scuffle sat together at a corner table in the library. Late afternoon shone through the windows, but despite the additional warmth, Dinky shivered. Exams were over for the day. As usual, the foals gathered in the library to study. But first, Dinky had explained what Sunbeam had said to her that morning, what she intended to do about it. So, what are you exactly saying, Dinky? Clarity asked, concerned. You don't trust the princesses and the academy staff to keep your students safe?
It's not quite that,
Dinky replied, running a forehook along the table absently.
It's just, I feel like all anybody wants to do is to attend the school. Sunbeam has bigger plans than this place tonight. Plans that could easily be bad for all of Equestria. To stop Sunbeam, they can't defend. They need to attack.
How are they supposed to do that? Scuffle asked quizzically. The guards have been searching for months. No point can ever seem to encounter Sunbeam but for us. And then he looked thoughtful for a second. Well, mostly you. Sunbeam's only shown himself to us once or twice.
That's my point, Dinky said. He hasn't found Sunbeam yet, and he won't tonight, especially if they're not going to leave the academy. He's going to march out somewhere nearby and do whatever horrible dark magic ritual he has planned, and nobody's going to let the hope to stop him. Well,
Honeydew come out softly.
Once he does, whatever he's going to do you think the princesses or maybe the elements of harmony will stop him?
Dinky scowled.
Why does it have to come to that?
She asked, frustrated.
Boys could get hurt, or worse, before the situation was solved. If somebody would go out and confront him tonight, they could be all afraid.
Clarity gently placed a hoof on Dinky's shoulder. Please, calm down, Dinky, she urged. I know it's stressful, and I know your personal situation makes it even worse. But, well, I'm sure the princesses would do something if they could. But, well, maybe they can't. And since they can't, they don't really have a choice. But wait until Sunbeam shows herself. Dinky opened her mouth to reply, but paused. A pensive look crossed her features.
The princesses can't track down Sunbeam,
she said slowly.
But I can!
All three of the older foals silent, gazing at Dinky with shocked expressions. Dinks, Scuffle said slowly, sitting nervously in his chair. I really hope I misunderstood what you meant there. Don't tell us you're thinking about going out tonight to confront Sunbeam. Dinky sighed.
It's stupid, I know. Really stupid. But it's the only way I might be able to stop Sunbeam before something disastrous happens. Now hold on,
Honeydew interjected, nervously wringing her hooves.
Let's not be too hasty. Maybe it's true that you're the only one who can track Sunbeam, but can't you just lead a more capable point to... Nobody's gonna agree to that.
Honeydew interrupted.
The princesses don't want us to go out, even with supervision.
Well, if you're going to go, could you sneak out, find Sunbeam, then come back and tell somebody at the academy has the location? Scuffle asked.
And how do you expect me to let somebody know without indicating that I snuck out and put myself in danger?
Dinky asked.
The team will expel me, the princesses will probably punish me, and more than likely nobody will go out to Sunbeam until it's too late anyway.
She crossed her forelegs and snored.
If I want to stop Sunbeam before he does something really dangerous, I'll have to do it myself.
She grumbled. Dinky, you're not going out there, Clarity said firmly.
Don't try to stop me, Clarity,
Dinky warned.
Somebody has to.
I mean alone. You're not going out there alone, Clarity said. Dinky blinked.
Wait, you're coming?
Only because I know I can't talk you out of going, Clarity said. I don't care if he's just a little colt. He's still a wraith. Noble as your idea is, you're not going to be able to take on a wraith yourself. Honeydew looked distraught.
Are you two for real?
She whimpered.
You're both going to get killed.
They won't if they have enough health, Scuffle said. Did you think you girls could get some extra defensive magic on this little adventure? Dinky grinned as soon as he realized what the cult meant.
You can come to your Scuffle. Your help will really be valuable.
Honeydew gave a defeated sigh. So, I can tag along and get myself killed,
or sit alone in the tower, spend all night thinking about you three getting yourselves killed.
There was a moment of awkward silence. The pink filly gave a defeated sigh.
Fine, count me in too. I hope death doesn't hurt too much.
I wonder how often Fluttershy has been never found saying that.
Alright then,
Dinky said, ignoring Honeydew's rather dark comment.
Scuffle, you sit the hideout at the dock. We got a job to do.
From the safety of her bedroom, Dinky watched the light gradually fade from the sky. The sun had already dipped completely below the horizon, and the darkness was beginning to set in, allowing some of the brighter stars to appear overhead. She squeezed her eyes to touch sight, successfully staving off another wave of magic, then turned to her friends once it passed.
It's almost time,
She said gravely.
Curfew is right about now. Which means Scuffle is probably already out of the hideout, waiting for us.
Honeydew, who had wrapped herself tightly in blankets, squeaked fearfully.
Does that mean it's too late to call this off?
That's right, Hardy replied, as he put a few supplies he hoped would be useful into her saddlebags. But it's not too late for you to back out. No point is forcing you to come along. Honeydew sighed and crawled out from her fortress of bedding.
No, I'll come along,
She said softly.
We need to work as a team for this, don't we?
Dinky trotted over to the pink filly and placed a forehoof on her back.
I really appreciate it, Honeydew.
She said, giving her friend a smile and a soft muscle.
It's amazing how much braver you've become since the beginning of the term, too.
Honeydew cheered her lip.
You realize I'm still terrified, right?
So yes,
I'm just going along anyway. It's okay,
Dinky replied, managing a nervous laugh.
We're terrified, too. But maybe if we have each other's backs, we can pull this off.
Dinky placed a map of the region and the first few aid supplies in her saddlebag.
I think we're ready to go, she announced. Yes, if you don't do any exceptions.
Oh, I know this part of the game. This is always where you have that last chance to save before everything goes blazes. Save. Cardi shook her head. Honeydew fixed their gaze on the carpet. Neither spoke.
All right, follow me. Be careful. We can't let Sparkheart catch us sneaking out.
The three fillies silently closed the door to the bedroom and began to creep down the dark stairs to the residence tower. It sounded like a few fillies were still awake, but the halls remained empty. With no pony around to raise suspicious questions, the trio quickly reached the bottom of the tower. How are we going to get outside exactly? Clarity asked. There are guards everywhere tonight. We have to pass one just to go from the residence tower to the castle. Dinky grinned and led the way not toward the door, but toward the basement.
There's another way out of this tower, remember?
She asked obviously, glancing over her shoulder as her plan dawned on the friends. Soon, Dinky and her companions stepped into the dank basement beneath the tower. The grate in the stone floor had been fixed back into place, but a few quick, precise manipulation spells quickly removed the screws. Dinky set the grate aside quietly as possible and stared at the square shaft leading straight down.
Wait, how do we go to start down with levitation?
Dinky pointed out instead of Clarity. None of us can use Scuffle's gravity spells.
Right,
Dinky agreed.
who wants to go first? You're leading this expedition,
Honeydew whispered.
Go on, we'll carry you down.
Dinky nodded and stood at the edge of the opening. A couple of mixture of two auras surrounded her. She was lifted into the air and began to descend into the blackness below.
Right or not, Sunbeam?
She thought, as the moldy brick tunnel at the bottom of the shaft came into view.
We're coming to stop you.
Miles and miles away in Ponyville, a night such as Scorpio's apex wasn't any concern. Most ponies weren't even aware of anything out of the ordinary about this particular evening. The rest of the main six are kind of a little miffed at me that they barely popped up at all in the story. The moon had risen, and most of the ponies had retired to bed for the night. Girls, I promise you. Main five, girls, I promise you. The next story is going to have more of you in it. In a house in a town like any other, a little pinto earth pony sounded soundly. A pendant embedded with a diamond shaped like a half moon sat on the nightstand, waiting to be placed around his neck the next morning like every other day. The scene was peaceful. Nothing was amiss. Then, for some reason, the little colt was stilted awake. Pipsqueak sat up, groggily rubbing his eyes.
Oh, what time is it?
He asked no pony in particular.
Is it still the middle of the night?
Blinking away to sleep, the cult looked around the room, trying to figure out what caused him to stir so suddenly. Everything, however, was in its place. Pipsqueak was about to shrug it off and go back to sleep. Something caught his eye. Turning to the bedside table, he stared at his pendant and began to glow. Something was not right. Was Dinky was far away at the academy, thought Pipsqueak. The pendant would warm up and glow with the soft yellow light of Dinky's horn. This time, however, the accessory had radiated a soft, light purple shade that the cult didn't recognize. Pipsqueak had heard the story of Dinky's run-in with dark magic, but this aura wasn't that either.
Then, whose is it?
Pipsqueak laughed aloud as he reached for the pendant. The ends of his hoof barely touched the rim of metal, when suddenly his mind was assaulted with a series of broken images, distant sounds and feelings of dread and terror. It was impossible to decipher anything he was seeing or hearing. It all just happened in an instant, yet somehow its message was abundantly clear.
Dinky's in danger! I got to help her!
Pipsqueak leapt out of bed, slipped the pendant around his neck, and grabbed his saddlebag, and promptly left the room. Careful not to wake his parents as he snuck past, the cult hurried down the stairs, flung open the front door, and carried it out into the moonlit streets of Ponyville.